sat at the tables with global leaders ranging from Apple to Fujifilm, and negotiated headquarters to be located here, and hundreds of high-paying, new, skilled jobs for our county and our state. From these conversations, I learned that these companies sought out North Carolina because of our education system. It is our robust pre-K through 12, our community colleges, and our wonderful universities that produce educated, global-minded, critical thinkers ready for the workforce and the future. Not only are students intelligent and experienced, but they are bringing new perspectives from all walks of life. North Carolina has been number one for the last 2 years when it comes to business. And this is largely because of our talent pipeline and our human resources. We will not remain and maintain this title if we go further in divesting from important DEI programs. So what is DEI? It always will stand for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And for those who need a definition more clearly spelled out, I'm going to provide this to you right now. So diversity encompasses the presence of individuals from different backgrounds, identities, and experience, including and not limited to race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, religion, ability, and age. That encompasses everyone in North Carolina and everyone in this room, everyone in this building. Equity focuses on fair treatment, access, opportunity, and advancement for all individuals. And inclusion involves creating environments where all individuals feel valued, respected, and supported, and where their perspectives and contributions are welcome and embraced. Those words, diversity, equity, and inclusion, has become politically charged and has been used as weapons in this culture war. Since we don't understand it, since people don't understand it, they become scared of it. And the people who attack DEI have called it divisive, exclusionary, and indoctrination. And that's far from the truth. To that, I would like to ask if any critics out there have ever been or attended a DEI event, spoken to a DEI employee, or spent a day in the life of a college student using DEI services. If they ever have, they would not be doing the things that they're doing. Here, I'm going to provide you some examples of current DEI events offered at campuses all over our UNC system. One is Boba Chat and Craft with the AA and HPI community. Free tutoring and advising to students for all fields across our system. Engineering summer camps for low-income children. Mentorships with Black and LGBTQ business leaders. Residential halls where women engineers can live together and learn from one another. And lastly, and some of the most important work that the DEI programs are doing, is a suicide loss support space that we've been talking about so many times in this building. And this is one of the areas that's actually doing things, putting action into place to helping these students. Is this what we're all scared of? These events and these activities and these services that I just mentioned? These programs create a space where students can feel welcome and adjust to college life, and they allow for networking among students and professionals, as you'll hear later on today or right now. And it increases retention and graduation rates at all of our university schools and improves students' overall physical and mental wellness. In addition, it creates opportunities for students, all students, who wouldn't have been able to access these services, these opportunities, this connection to industry. And it opens the door for everyone to expand their scope, their lens, their world when it comes to impacting our future change. Like I said, our world has become so different and it's changing so rapidly. And North Carolina is evolving alongside to these global changes. Our businesses know this. They've told us this. And they want a workforce that can keep up with our new globalized world. And DEI is actually the best program that's helping equip our students for that. That skill, knowledge, and cultural competence that thrives in a multicultural work environment. Diversity, equity, inclusion has encouraged our students, our state's economy, and our industry to thrive. Let's stop trying to change what clearly isn't broken and keep our state #1 in business in the country. Thank you. So the next person I will introduce is my colleague, Representative Amos Quick. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you, Representative Servania, for pulling us together this morning on this very, very important subject. I also acknowledge the presence of Representative Brown and Representative Bournsey. Representative Bournsey is part of the leadership team, and these first remarks that I'm going to make are on behalf of the leadership team of the North Carolina House Democratic Caucus. North Carolina is a diverse state, and that diversity is our strength. It is troubling to see the continued politics being played with important state institutions, particularly higher education. The University of North Carolina Board of Governors should consider how diverse college campuses make our university the crown jewel of North Carolina. Instead of joining the culture wars, North Carolina should focus on fully funding our university system and creating an inclusive environment where every student has the attention and opportunities they deserve. Our state is as diverse as it has ever been. Our universities are charged with preparing younger generations for life and work after college. Without diversity-focused programs and staff, we are leaving students with fewer tools to understand one another, thrive in the workplace, and become good citizens. Again, that statement is on behalf of the House Democratic Leadership Caucus. These next remarks are my own. It is maddening that we have come again to a place in our nation's history where diversity, equity, and inclusion have become bad words. My suggestion to those who seek to destroy the very valuable diversity, equity, and inclusion policies and practices that have made our state and nation so great is that they go back and read the Declaration of Independence, because diversity, equity, and inclusion are woven into the fabric of that foundational document of our nation. The Declaration says, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men," that's diversity, "are created equal," that's equity and equality, and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that's inclusion. And I hope and pray that the voters of North Carolina pay attention to the next lines of the Declaration of Independence, because the next lines say that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and to institute new government. There can be no doubt that the UNC Board of Governors and their legislative benefactors have become destructive to the esteemed and time-honored principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And on Tuesday, November 5th, 2024, the voters of North Carolina can institute a new way. I introduce you to our next speaker, Reverend Dr. Rose Cornelius from the Morrisville Chamber of Commerce.
Good morning, everyone. Decades ago, North Carolina began to emerge from our ugly past of slavery, racism, intimidation, voter suppression, and lynching. These things were a stain on our state. Almost miraculously, however, and through a lot of hard work and forward thinking and planning, we've managed to redeem ourselves from many of the mistakes of the past and now have become the most progressive state in the South. As a result, we have been rewarded by businesses clamoring to come here. Not only businesses, but university students clamoring to come here. All types of people, old, young, people of every race, creed, and color, see North Carolina as a beacon of light, a place to call home, a place to do business, a place to fulfill their dreams. And we welcome them. We see them. We respect them. They feel included. North Carolina is recognized as one of the best places to do business. A big part of that is how welcoming we are. We are attracting and retaining people from all over the world, people from all nations who do all types of jobs for us, from stocking store shelves to scientists working in labs trying to find cures for all types of diseases. As the president of the Morrisville Chamber of Commerce, I represent a town that is probably the most diverse and welcoming in North Carolina. We have a population that is over 40% Asian. Morrisville has greatly benefited from this diversity, but it has called us to learn about our neighbors. It is required that we see them and respect them and include them. We include them in our town's programming. They hold seats on our town council. There's a big reason why Morrisville is recognized as one of the top locations for the sport of cricket in America. We've benefited in so many ways because we've made room for our Asian neighbors and others. Programs that educate people about diversity, equity, and inclusion teach us how to welcome all people. They teach us how to see all people. They teach us how to value and respect all types of people. They teach us how to include all types of people. The UNC Chapel Hill Board of Trustees wishes to end programming that educates and supports diversity, equity, and inclusion. By doing so, they are telegraphing to their students, to the business community, our nation, and the world that they wish to return North Carolina to the ways of the past, where walls divided, where some people weren't as valued or seen or respected as others. Programs that teach people to recognize and appreciate the differences in other people are integral to North Carolina's ability to thrive in a global economy. If we do not foster a culture where all are welcome, if we do not foster a culture where all are treated fairly, if we do not foster a culture where all are understood and appreciated, we, in effect, remove the welcome mat for so many. In order to retain our forward movement in our global economy, we must be intentional about what we do and what we are telegraphing to the world. I encourage the UNC System Board of Governors to retain and strengthen its DEI programming. Your students will benefit and our state will benefit when we are given tools that help us to see, appreciate, and respect each other. And now I turn things over to our next speaker, Deanna Jones.
Thank you very much, Rose, and thank you, Representative Servana, for inviting me here. My name is Deanna Jones, and I am the Vice President for Harmony, which is the LGBTQ Chamber of Commerce here in the Triangle. I'm a business owner, and I also work at a large tech firm here in the Triangle. As a leader of a chamber of commerce that works with the business community, I can tell you that our business members consider DEI mission critical and part of their core values. I constantly hear stories of companies that tell us their employees and their applicants want to work in a diverse and inclusive company. Inclusion is important for everyone. Inclusion is not a zero-sum game. Everyone can benefit from inclusion. Inclusion means all of us, or as we would say in North Carolina, all y'all. If we start eliminating programs and putting a straitjacket on colleges and universities that tell them what programs they can have or what fields of study, it does great damage to this wonderful state. And it sends the wrong message. What message does our country hear when North Carolina is trying to cancel valuable programs or fields of study of institutions of higher learning? What message does a corporation hear when we are declaring war against these values that so many businesses are striving to achieve just so they can survive and attract future employees? North Carolina has been the beneficiary of many companies moving here. We've had headquarters, operations move here. We can't risk losing this momentum because we're fighting a cancel culture war. We did that in 2016 and it hurt us. North Carolina has always been considered a place that excelled in business and education. North Carolina has always been a state that welcomed people. We have to keep that. We have to keep North Carolina that way. Our very future depends on it. And now I'd like to introduce my new friend, Nehemiah.
Fantastic. Thank you, Deanna. You know, perhaps as the young man on the panel, it's my responsibility to give us a note of joy. You know, I think about the comments made thus far, and I've actually got good news for you. As you'll come to find, I'm a scientist and a surgeon, so forgive me if these matters of legislation are far beyond my grasp. A note, 30%. Since the implementation of the DEI policy in 2019, there's been a 30% increase of graduation rates, retention, and ultimate placement into corporations. What that has done is now, and over 500 major corporations have defected to North Carolina, bringing over a $1.5 billion dollar increase in our state's GDP. That's numbers. That's hard facts. My name is Nehemiah Stewart. As mentioned, I'm an MD PhD candidate at Chapel Hill studying neuroscience. I attended UNC Chapel Hill as an undergraduate, double majoring in chemistry and mathematics before graduating as the top chemistry major in my class. All throughout my time, those who worked alongside of me had all colors of spectrum, all ranges of background, and they guided me to my ultimate outcome. And I understood at that point then, an undergraduate, as well as now, that each of us in this community, this inclusive community, is needed pertinently for success. This policy, the repeal at hand, comes about from a few core reasons. Primarily, there's a misunderstanding of inclusivity. There's a gist, a feeling that those who are included actually exclude out many others. There's also an interpretation, actually a misaccounting of DEI dollars in our system. $3 million is attributed to DEI at UNC Chapel Hill. However, in the DEI offices, less than $250,000 is actually controlled. The rest of the dollars are attributed out to other programs that have brought student success forward over these years. What this has caused for us now is a policy that threatens, as mentioned beforehand, to eliminate not just staff, but the programs, institutions, and the placement that have brought forward this strong economic development. But I don't just come with harsh bearings and bad news. I come with a solution. Now, for the first time ever, we propose to you all a new committee in the House of Representatives and the Senate, a committee for workforce development. My colleagues at Fuji Films, my colleagues at Eli Lilly, they tell me day in and day out, if we want to make change, if we want to make North Carolina truly a state of impact and growth, well, we need a talent pool that's sustainable. A talent pool that's strong and has a lifelong longevity to bring forward year after year from our UNC system. So with these asks we make and the solution at hand, we give you all, no matter what background, no matter what difference we have to each other, a chance to make this state as strong as it once was and stronger than it's been before. See, I must confess, as I look even at our panel today, I can understand. No, truly I do. I understand why I appeal to the current policy set, please, because it's forgotten so many. The way we've done inclusivity now has left behind a vast majority. The way we've done inclusivity now has unfortunately caused us to wonder about metrics of growth. There's been shadows on all sides. We don't propose that we've been perfect. We don't propose that we've been excellent. But we do propose that for our state to make progress, for our state to compete and lead in this nation, we need each of us here in this room and beyond. Those who listen to me today can understand now, with the development and the vote for this new committee, you have a chance, a voice, to make this state as strong as it should be. Thank you, Representative Servania, for the time and opportunity. I speak on behalf of UNC Chapel Hill in saying that we stand against the repeal of this policy, and we stand for the current policy and its strengthening and improvement. Thank you.
Thank you to all our panel and everybody who helped support us to get to this point today. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Yeah, I think it's accurate to say, although I'd love to get your input or maybe some of the other folks, that's part of a broader trend. I mean, we've also seen the recent affirmative action decision for this report. Here at the legislature, we've seen a rollback of some of the policies that were passed after the George Floyd protests in 2020. How do you see kind of this whole trend moving right now and maybe over the next few years?
So currently, as you're saying, the structure or the environment here in the General Assembly has led towards going backwards from all the benefits that we've been trying to implement in the past. A lot of the movement has come from outside and from our leaders, and we're hoping that business, which has been such a loud voice in this building, can help us have people understand who are making a majority of these decisions, to let them know that these decisions that they're making are detrimental. So we hope that there's an open heart and minds in listening to businesses and students. But also, as my colleague said, November 5th will be very loud of a statement. And we need voters to voice their dissatisfaction to how these decisions are being made. And yeah, let North Carolinians decide how we go towards the future in making these decisions. Any other input? Okay. Yes, Matthew.
The proposed committee, is that limited to just the UNC system, or would there be any DEI initiatives statewide considered?
So, as I mentioned, this is the first time ever we've had a new committee formed in the House or the Senate. As you look at the breakdown of the different committees, each of them serve a core function meant to keep a cohesive nature around this state as a whole. Members of the House and Senate delegate themselves, or rather take roles within these committees. Of course, there needs to become a DEI understanding. DEI offices need a role within these committees. But as I mentioned formerly, we need the voice of all members, prominent stakeholders, whether it be faculty, staff, parents, potentially, majority groups. These inputs are what have been left behind. These inputs are why there is a mistrust and a feeling of divide between the current DEI policies and those that are proposing repeal. This development board offers for us a chance to do away with feelings of political divide and focus on what drives the state, and that's economic development.
Any other questions?
mentioned, you've been at UNC Chapel Hill as an undergraduate. There is a PhD candidate now. Can you tell us a little bit more about your personal experience with DEI programs on campus and the difference it's made for you personally?
Oh my, I can go on and on. So, as I mentioned, I'm currently an MD PhD candidate going into neurosurgery. My PhD is neuroscience. In our medical school, I'll start close and I'll move backwards. We have a program called MED. Actually, a few of my colleagues in the room serve on it. Herein, we take in minority, low-income, rural students who are interested in medicine and give them basal understandings of the skill sets needed to come into a foreign environment that is medicine and survive. Unfortunately, the world of medicine has been a sink or swim nature, where if you don't understand the tools to use or you didn't come from a family that was in medicine, your chances of success are slim to none. What we've seen is drastic, significant increases, not only in my own life as a server of those in MED, but also in the lives of patients who now see doctors who look like them. We touch their hands. We hold them through tough times. And we're proud to say, man, we look like you. We understand where you come from. And it's thanks to programs that started years ago. Moving backward from there, a program called Project Uplift, which I also have served on many times before, has led to a 40% increase. We work with high schoolers and middle schoolers, once again, across the state. This brings in this recruitment pipeline. We talk about workforce development. It starts far beyond undergraduate. It starts far beyond high school. When we get students familiar, give them core skill sets to find survival in these foreign environments, we increase their chances for success. These DEI programs have, I've seen in my own eyes, brought forward our new generation of clinicians, engineers, lawyers, thought leaders, and I've been just so honored to be a part of it in my journey.
Hi, go ahead.
So the board's voting to defund, to cut DEI programs aren't very diverse. So what's your opinion on that and, that impact?
So as we were saying, that impact is going to be very significant. As Nehemiah had said, these programs not only touch the UNC system, but also the UNC students and faculty and administration going to high schoolers, go to middle schoolers to prepare and to hopefully have those students be students in our system. And then adding on, our business industry leaders here, knowing that these pipelines are so integral on why everyone is coming here and staying here. But we can't take that for granted. It could be easily stopped or changed. There's other states around us who are actually like highlighting that we're doing these things and really courting the industries that could be coming. I talked to legislators in Virginia, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Georgia. They're telling me, you keep going this way, we're already going after your future industry. So this is already happening with like even the thought or preparation of these decisions being made. So there's incredible implication to this.
May I say that it is also disheartening that the UNC system was the first system in the nation, the first statewide university system in the nation. So we have been leaders in this country on educating our population. But this is not leadership. As the question was alluded to earlier, this is actually followship. This is what's happening in other places, Florida, Texas, and other places. And so it's not really impressive that North Carolina now is becoming a follower, whereas before we were the leader. We started the university system and the statewide university system in this country, and we should remain a leader in the statewide university system with the benefits that we've seen happening. I represent Greensboro, North Carolina, which has 2 UNC system schools within the city limits, including the #1 HBCU in the world. And that happened, and because that happened, North Carolina A&T State University is becoming more diverse itself. Excellence works, and DEI policies help us to become excellent. And so this step that we're taking back, or the proposed step that we're probably going to be taking back yesterday, is not excellence, it's not leadership, it's followship, it's politics, it's awful, and it's going to hurt our state.
I'd like to say I think this is part of a broader agenda to marginalize people, to take away rights, both from women and minorities and others. And people who have been invited to the table don't want to go back. I'm included in that number. It is unfortunate, but I think we need to raise our voices. We cannot afford to sit on the sidelines anymore. You have a stake in this. So contact your legislators, contact the people who are involved on the Board of Governors. Let your opinions be known. Don't be idle. You cannot afford to sit back.
Other questions? Well, I thank media, I thank our participants and everybody also here. And I just want to let you know that the groups here are going to be conducting an advocacy day, visiting many of our leaders on our university committees on the Senate and the House side, and also leaders in the NCGA in general. And if any of them are listening today, hopefully they'll have their doors open to be able to spend a little time to hear further the details of how this is so important. Thank you so much.